Alright, hi there YouTube, it's me, Morphsuit America, and there's a lot of stuff that's been going on when I've been farming the threat in the dark anomalies, or the dark jellyfish, whatever they're called. So you can see that on the screen right now. Anyways, with that being said, we came back over here to this planet where that one person is paying us to go get the weapons and whatnot. However, I do need to explain why this is under control of the pirates. Now, I kind of went on, when I was farming over here, time does not pause, so a lot of stuff was going on while I was trying to farm for some stuff, and it got to a point where I got annoyed because I had to come back to the core worlds and deal with some of the mess. Granted that I have a few special task fleets to try to take care of the key things I want them to do. I'm still making them notes that depending on certain factors I might start doing some things. Apparently this squad got it was handed to them. I need to revive them in a bit. Actually, better yet, I'll tell them to go to... Tell them to go over there so that I can try to revive them. I have a lot of them, but granted that some of these guys are very specific. This one is just like the main guys that I want to keep in my team, but I need to train some stuff or get a bunch of ships and train them up and whatnot. So they're actually in this group. Some of the other ones are references to some of my close friends that are now making it that are now in my gameplay and in my faction. So I'm doing some weird little snippets here and there. But anyways, these special teams are able to take care of some of the bigger things that I want them to do, especially in my turf. However, since I'm still allied with the pirates, there's a lot of stuff going on here and there with the pirates. Like they're still getting invaded and whatnot. And it got to a point where Hegemony, who was on the brink of extinction, was able to actually make a comeback and grab a fair amount of their lands back. And then not only that, there's some places that I've lost too, because since I'm allied to certain factions, some of these other factions don't like me being allied to them because they're enemies. So it lowers my relationship to the point where, oh, now we're enemies. For example, Diablo Avionics, they are actually my enemies now. So I'm gonna have to wage some war with them. And it got to a point where when I was trying to farm threat in the jellyfishes, I just told my guys, the pirates, and well, I didn't capture any new lands. I've been developing some lands in my sectors, in my star systems, but I told the pirates like, hey, go ham, like try to take these places. Now I did this on a whims, trying to see if they can actually win and actually fight against some stuff, and they were pretty good. They kind of pushed the Ludic path or the Ludic church down to only 2 planets. I think these are the only 2 left. Well, 3, but this one I'm keeping around just so I can steal blueprints. So this one's getting bullied heavily. But the remaining 2 are over here, and we kind of I kind of messed them up because one, we took a fair amount of stuff there, but now everyone wants to try to get a piece of their decimated system, so everyone's fighting over there. So there's that. Syndria's kind of in its own realm, but slowly doing some stuff. Try Tachyon, they're kind of stuck with only 2 planets left, I think. I accidentally tossed a bunch of guys over here thinking that, hey, like Syndria's not gonna like win against like if Syndra's able to push a lot of my guys trying to invade out of their system, like Tri-Tac should be able to do the same thing. No, as you can see, we took 2 of their homelands. So yeah, and then now there's this one that Tri-Tac took, but this planet's gonna deteriorate over time or decivilize over time, and they're gonna lose that. So Tri-Tac is actually losing, even though they're the high-tech guys. Syndria's actually been holding down the fort in their system and slowly doing some attacks. Then there's the Hegemony that's also doing well. If you're wondering what happened to the league, I eliminated them. They're not in the picture anymore. If I want to revive them, sure, but right now Diablo Avionics is pretty strong in terms of the military sense. I mean, Hegemony's still strong too, but Hegemony's strong due to the lords that I've implemented into the game. They're the real reason to why it's been a pain in the butt to try to push into their lands. Granted that I don't even have lords myself. I've been trying to work for at least one of them that I still need to toy around with and fiddle, but hopefully I could do that in a separate recording. But yeah, so pretty much that's it with the vanilla stuff. The orcs are actually going to betray me in a bit because, well, one of them, I think the blood axes are fine, but the death claws, actually no, I think I'm still enemies with the blood axes. Hold up, who am I allied with? So since I'm with the pirates, these are my relationships. So Aurora Federation, I purposely made sure they're at 100%. Bad Moons, they're up there. Death Skulls, they're up there. Goathead, MRC, Independent. I think the ones I know that I will still be allied with are these 2, MRC and Independent, regardless of stuff, unless I leave the pirates maybe. Goathead Aviation, I purposely got that to 100 along with UAF, but because of that, like the Death Skulls, for example, they're actually at war with the Bad Moons, which is another orc, 40k orc faction. So they're slowly losing relationship with me, which is why it's not at 100%. Blood Axes are kind of the same deal. I will most likely lose reputation with them because I'm friends with the UAF. So eventually, this 100% bar that I have with the, is it 100% or whatever my? Oh no. Blood Axes were actually against each other. Never mind. I was wrong. I thought we were friends. We're not friends. I actually took some of their lands. The big one would be the land that's up here in Zigan. Oh, that explains all this change. It used to be the League, but then I gave it to the Blood Axes so they can form the military backup. But then because of me being friends with the UAF, Blood Axes decided to fight against me, and then I decided to send a bunch of pirate fleets to take over a lot of the lands. I gave him a bit of a slight mercy to let them stay in this particular area because this was originally their planet. But over here, I'm making sure like, hey, the land I gave you, now I'm taking it back. So I'm putting it in the hands of the pirates. But the one thing about the pirates is that they don't really respond in kind against the other faction. They don't retaliate as much compared to like hegemony and whatnot, who has their land taken. They will do that unless it's because of the rights and the deals of the particular area that they have. But anyways, enough of the talks and the factions and whatnot. We're back over here to see if there's any new dialogue with this chick, because I've been grabbing a bunch of weapons and tech. So let's see if there is anything new. Oh, I found some interesting specimen. Oh wait. Well, let's see what I can turn in. I think the big things that I'm not really using are these things, but I kind of want to hold on to them just in case. I think a big one I could give is like maybe a bit of these. Let's go with like 5 of them. That's like 5 points, 300,000. I think each one of these are just like 60,000 if I'm doing my math right, which means that if I give all of this, it gives me a lot of money. So weapons, oh wow, that gives me a fair amount. This gives me 30,000. I'll most likely hold on to the weapons though, since they're actually pretty good in some instances. I think the one thing I don't have a lot of are the void ones, but I don't even see that in my thing. The big ones I am trying to farm up. Oh, I do have some void blasters, but the big thing I'm trying to farm up would be the missile launchers, the fragment missile launchers, and they're really hard to get them. So I'm gonna just turn that in. Oh, I guess it will raise up the relationship too with Tritachyon. I guess I could give them some mercy if I really want to. I'll sit on that. Or I can get them out of the picture. Let's at that. What do you guys do with these things? These components are obviously derived from a neglected branch of domain technology. This makes them fundamentally human technology. The path to profitable exploitation is fundamentally open, a bit complex. The Tritachyon Corporation ideally placed to exploit them. Like exploiting the technology, not risk another AI war. These are not artificially intelligent, he says decisively. Not that such distinction is necessary to hegemony regulators. Whatever future war the hegemony initiates, whatever new oppressors they conceive, it will be a consequence of leadership as paranoid as their masses are ignorant. Besides, she says, if I am right about everything, there would be no need for a war. You know where they come from or what they are? In the simplest term, her voice contains more than a hint on condensation? No. Condescending? Yeah, can't pronounce that. They are autonomously self-fabricated, self-modifying constructs derived from another domain design. Their intent, so far as they could be said to have intent, is destructive toward our technological base. Why is a more difficult question? I find it amusing that the Lodics would recoil in horror. Oh, I find it amusing that the Lodics would recoil in horror, but they could not find a better ally to their cause. So the threat are not alive, not intelligent. Is it machine life? Is it a virus? Oh gosh, jeez. Oh wow, she doesn't really care. of Selfhood Collective or otherwise will passes for communication is hostile and garbled. The loose ends of automatic warnings and obsolete domain decrees. If it is conscious in any form, it is impossibly big ways. What happens if I give her... I'll give her one of these. Cost him 90,000. Okay, she doesn't really go into the talk about that other group. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to any sort of dialogue and questline for the threat and also the dark anomalies. In terms of what you get out of it, you pretty much get some new a good chunk of weapons and S mods or built-in mods that you could put into your ship. For example, this ship, if I just go into combat right now real quick, like, this doesn't have any sort of modification with them. I think I swapped out their anti-armor stuff for something else that's able to shoot at a longer range, so if she was to engage and not really be super aggressive and charge at enemies, she has the range to just pelt them down and slowly kill them. But then there's my build that I decided to do on my ship where I place a lot of the newer stuff in there. Well, specifically I swapped out the large weapon mounts with the threat weapon mounts, and then I added the shrouds. Oh, I guess that's what the dark anomalies are called. The shrouded S mods into what I have. And dealing with the same enemy, I have like this dark aura around me now, and pretty much this thing is like, if I go close to an enemy, you can see like dark lightnings coming out from the shroud and hitting up. So this helps with additional AoE or like just damage. And the big thing is, it's also gonna help me if I close the distance, and this thing likes to close the distance at times. It has that chase mechanic, the thrusters, so it is pretty stupidly good. And especially with me toying around with the flux dissipation, the weapon flux, it pretty much can hold its fight. I mean, granted that originally you saw how I kind of go into the anomalies, the shrouds, and the threat, and how it kind of tears them apart, and I think the same will be the same with the revenants. So there's that. The only issue I've been running into is if I fight against stuff that's like heavily armored like this, it will take some time, especially if there's a lot of them. And now I also change up my fleet structure. Granted that kind of did this because when I went on that whim of like sending a bunch of fleets out, I knew that the lords are going to be about, so kind of check the areas where my guys are fighting. And a lot of the lords have these ships stupidly overhauled to this point where this thing is very, very terrifying. I mean, will it still win against a capital that's not like S-modded and whatnot? I don't think so, but it's still terrifying to see this sort of ship with like already built-in hardened shields, heavy armor, reinforced bulkheads, and all this fun stuff. And the one thing is, this thing is a deployment cost of 18. Now, if I put a pilot in there, it's going to deployment cost of like 22. But this being a deployment cost of 18 is annoying and terrifying. I took out its missiles, so it has all this stuff. And if I showed it in the simulation, let's say against this one that I like bringing up, like this thing will have decent range and decent ability to come down and poke this guy, even though he's supposed to be more deadly than my guy. Like, look, he's already fluxed out. Now he has to do that. Now I'm shooting him down now with the weapons I gave him, especially this one. Fucking technocracy guys. This thing helps stun some of the weapons, so even if he may want to try to retaliate, I get stunned. But yeah, you see I'm like chipping away at him. I still have my shields available to me. He has to kind of turn it on and off. I'm doing some damage to him, especially with this gun. This gun, the far left, shooting the beam, is just general usage. It can be used for shield and armor. And then these two are, yeah, it's ridiculous. I can go more into the technicalities with refitting and go more heavy into the talks, but yeah, there's that. And then the Swarm one that I've been toying around with is specifically with this one, which is my alternative flagship. I will most likely have more of these, but I had to go farm them. They are very hard to acquire. And I put a bunch of these Swarm launchers on one of my special task group, and I kind of want to test them out in battle later and showcase that. I might actually have a clip of it somewhere in this video, depending on what I'm doing in a bit. But yeah, like, let's say, for example, I'm fighting against this. This one, I usually use this for long range, so I'm not going to try to charge it. But the thing is, I'm spawning these fragment swarms that they have an infinite amount of range to them. They can go and harass my enemies. And meanwhile, like, while they're doing that, they could be using their, like, point defense to do... Oh, well, I missed. But they can have the point defense focus on these guys, while I can have my main missiles, like, try to harass them. Like, I can fire those missiles, I can fire these missiles, like, my swarmers are all over them, they're gonna be helpless. And let's say, for example, well, these guys kind of have I have no control over them, so they can kind of do whatever. If there's an enemy on the field, to go to that enemy. But let's say, for example, I have a fair amount of them on the field, and then they killed all these enemies, and then there's one enemy left still on the battlefield. Guess what's gonna happen? Swarm's gonna go over there and try to take care of it. And I don't need to do anything. Let's say I'm all the way in the back, like dealing with some other enemy that I had to deal with. But the Swarm is like, oh yeah, there's this one that we can go gang up on, and guess what? They're gonna go do that, and I'm kind of nope. Yeah, and you can see that this one isn't really good at self-defense stuff, so it's gonna get pelted down and harassed to the point where it's just gonna be trying to figure out what to do. The one thing about these guys is that they're not really fighters in a sense. You can't really control them, but they act like fighters. They kind of respond like fighters. They have like a range of weapons that if you point defense, can attack, can do a lot of stuff, and then they come back to me, I guess, after they kill their opponents. But yeah, pretty much that's the Swarm, and that's the Shroud for you. And I'm most likely gonna end this video by just doing a bit more farming of them, testing out some of these newer builds that I have compared to the pre-recorded stuff that you just saw earlier. So yeah, I don't think I can use this guy though against Swarm or the Shrouded, especially with the nukes, because they can shoot down missiles pretty fast. If I'm able to, I can be very lucky in destroying them with the nukes, but these two guys are very deadly to the point where I can't really deal with them with this guy, which is why I have this ship as my flagship. So to wrap up this video, I will mention the gate hauler, because that was the one thing that was in that system that I had no clue what to do with. I did go out of my way to get the resources to turn it back on. However, I told it to go to a system, and now it's gonna be a few days. Well, I say few days, but it's actually 246 days or something, where it's gonna reappear in the system that I told it to go to. So, yeah. To wrap up this video, I'll most likely show you guys how to deal with this gate hauler and what you can do with it. Alright, so I'm in a system where I found a decent planet, but there was no way to get to it easily, so I kind of left it hanging, and it's cut off from all the core world stuff. But because of this domain hauler, doing it right now, so it's in this system. And to even try to deploy a gate, you need an open, stable location. So kind of got rid of something in the system to free up that space. You're gonna initiate it. It's gonna say this. Functionally, it's limited. Gate deployment can only be targeted broadly at a star system or roughly equivalent celestial structure. The holder's programming allows for no fine control and will select its own stable location. The process is irreversible and the order cannot be counter-minded once given. After deployment, the gate holder will automatically dismantle itself and presumably become feedstock for the next glorious expansion. Wait. So this thing's destroyed. You know what? I'm gonna test this out. Stand by. Alright, so I'm back. Let us actually test this out. Because if it does destroy itself after its one use, I want to actually use this to go into the abyss instead. So it's easier for me to literally go in here and not worry about like going out and then, you know, going back to my base and going out here to try to farm the threat. So going over here might not be bad. There is literally a star system here, and I think I could actually make stable locations in here and colonize Hades. It'll be kind of interesting for me to do that. So, and then also with the Genesis project of these asteroids, I could try to make a system like thriving over here, away from like all this stuff. But let's test this out first. You initiate the gate, deploy it. Fire, the Leviathan awakens from his slumber one last time to perform the purpose for which it was built. An ion ago, astride history feels flow, shift and explore beneath you. Okay, so it is a one-time use. I would say personally, yes, you could deploy a gate in a system around here, but in my opinion, I would rather put one in the abyss. I think I'm gonna move that. I think it's literally gone. Let's see if I can even do anything with this.